Life usually feels like it's got some kind of rhythm, you know? The sun climbs up, the waves roll in, and then, like clockwork, someone like Linda from the Homeowners Association finds a way to turn a perfectly good day into a bureaucratic nightmare. But here I am, soaring through the sky, strapped to what's basically a jet ski on steroids, decked out with flashing lights and sirens screaming like a cat that just missed its nap. Crescent Cove's rickety, old Lifeguard tower looms closer, looking like a startled pelican caught in a storm. My heart's pounding, my palms are sweaty, and I'm starting to wonder if my definition of normal has gone completely off the rails. Down below, I spot a tiny figure in a floppy hat, arms while VYing like she's trying to shoo away a swarm of bees. That's Linda. Oh, this is going to be epic. Or a total train wreck. Probably both. I'm betting on both. It all kicked off on a sunny morning at Crescent Cove, the kind of place that feels like it was ripped from a postcard. I grew up here in this sleepy coastal town, splashing in these waves, sneaking my first awkward kiss behind the dunes, and probably swallowing enough seawater to qualify as a walking aquarium. The Lifeguard tower old, weathered, tilting slightly like it's had one too many beers is the soul of this beach. It's seen more drama than a reality TV show and saved more lives than Linda's ever dreamed of. So imagine my shock when I roll up for a volunteer cleanup, coffee in one hand, trash grabber in the other, feeling like a low-key hero, only to see the tower wrapped in neon green caution tape like it's a hazmat zone. A glaring red notice of violation. Unauthorized structure is plastered on its faded wood. And there, standing like a sentinel guarding her last shred of power, is Linda. Her real name might be something dull like Margaret, but to mean pretty much everyone in Crescent Covesh's Linda, the HOA's reigning queen of misery, the dictator of our sandy shores. Morning, Linda, I say, aiming for friendly but landing somewhere near I just ate a lemon. What's up with the tower? She spins around, her hat casting a shadow like a VY lane in a bad western, her permed gray hair so stiff it could probably stop a bullet. It's an unauthorized structure, Ethan, she says, spitting my name like I flunked her etiquette class. An eyesore and a liability. The Homeowners Association has spoken. She says spoken with the weight of a judge handing down a life sentence. My brain short circuits. Spoken? Linda, this tower's been here since before the HOA was a gleam in some lawyer's eye. It's where I learned to swim, for Pete's sake. Sentimentality isn't a building permit, Ethan, she snaps. It's not up to code. It blocks the VYEW for Lot 12. That's Mr. Thompson, a valued resident, and it encourages loitering. Loitering? I feel my blood pressure spike. Linda, kids look up to that tower. It's a lifeline. We get riptides here. People drown. She doesn't blink. The HOA pro-VY to sufficient signage for water safety, she drones, like she's reading from script. Emergency SARE VYCES are a phone call away. This relic is obsolete. It's coming down. That was just the opening act. I've had run-ins with Linda before everyone in Crescent Cove has a Linda story. There was the time she fined me for my overly festive beach towel, claiming it clashed with the dune's natural VYB. Then there was the great kite-flying ban of 23, enforced with a tape measure to ensure no kite soared too high. But this was war. This was Linda trying to rip the heart out of our beach. So I did what any slightly unhinged local with a printer would do. I started a petition. Save the Crescent Cove Lifeguard Tower, I called it. The response was unreal. Old-timers who watched the tower go up. Parents whose kids learned to swim under its watchful eye. Even some of the fancy new residents who liked its quirky charm, they all signed. In 3 days, I had 600 signatures. Feeling like a revolutionary, I marched into the next HOA meeting, held in a community center, so bland it could have been Linda's personal shrine to Taupe. Next item, Linda announced, peering over her glasses at a room full of half-asleep neighbors. Re-VY said regulations for mailbox, paint shades, Section 4, Subsection D. I cleared my throat. Excuse me, Linda. I'd like to present a petition about the Lifeguard Tower. Her pen didn't even twitch. That's not on the agenda, Ethan. But it's urgent. I pushed, while VYing my stack of signatures. Hundreds of residents want the tower to stay. It's a landmark, a safety net. She barely glanced up. Your enthusiasm is noted, she said, her voice so patronizing it could have curdled cream. We're discussing mailbox shades. Gerald, you had a question about matte finishes. I was shut down, brushed off like sand from her flip-flops. That's when I realized Linda wasn't just a rule nerd. She had a vendetta against that tower, maybe against anything that sparked joy without her approval. Things got uglier. I recruited my old Lifeguard pals, Jake and Tim, figuring if Linda wouldn't listen to me, she might budge for guys in official-looking gear. We were at the tower, peeling off her ugly tape, when Linda materialized, phone already to her ear. Yes, 911, I need the police. Crescent Cove Beach. Vandals are destroying HOA property. Our vandalism was a pair of craft scissors Tim used to cut the tape. Soon, Officers Daniels and Lopez rolled up. Daniels, a grizzled vet, sighed like he'd rather be anywhere else. Lopez, younger, had a flicker of amusement in her eyes, probably fading with every HOA call. What's the deal here? Daniels asked, rubbing his temples. Ma'am, you said they're tearing down the structure. They are. Linda jabbed a finger at us. With tools. Probably to sell it for scrap. It's a public nuisance. Jake snorted. A nuisance? It's a wooden shack on stilts, lady. The worst thing that happened here was me eating expired yogurt in '09. I stepped in. Officers, we're just checking if it's safe, which it is. Who calls a Lifeguard tower a nuisance? Lopez stifled a laugh. Look, Ethan, Daniels said, if the HOA's got notices up, leave it alone. This is a CIVYL issue. Keep the peace, all of you. No arrests, but Linda smirked like she'd won. And she wasn't done. The next morning, a chain-link fence appeared around the tower, padlocked tight, with a sign, HOA property. No trespassing. Violators prosecuted. It was like watching someone slap a closed sign on the Statue of Liberty. I sat on the sand, fuming, when my phone pinged with a news alert. Tech mogul unveils personal water jetpack. The video showed some guy zipping over a lake like a budget superhero. Ridiculous, overpriced, impractical. Then an ad popped up. Rusty's Radical Rides. Custom watercraft, mods, and madness. Local. My brain, usually preoccupied with whether I locked my car, started spinning a wild, reckless idea. What if the tower was blocked on the ground, but not from the sky? What if I could stage an emergency so loud, so absurd, that even Linda's rulebook wouldn't know what hit it? Rusty's Radical Rides was a grimy shop by the harbor, smelling of grease and bad decisions. Rusty, the owner, was a masterpiece. Faded skull tattoos, sunglasses perched on his head indoors, and a grin that said he'd heard dumber ideas than mine. Hey, Rusty, I said, trying to sound like I ordered flying jet skis daily. I need a project. A big one. He leaned back in a chair that looked stolen from a yacht. Hit me with it, man. If it floats or blows up, I'm in. I laid it out. A personal watercraft, but souped up for rescue. Red and white, flashing lights. And here's the kicker, enough lift to get airborne. Like a paramedic's jet ski, I said, but with some serious hang time. Rusty's eyebrow shot up. You planning to save a dolphin from a lighthouse, dude? Something like that, I said, keeping it vague. It's for a community issue. A stubborn roadblock. He grinned wider. A roadblock, huh? I'm game. Red and white, lights lift. It'll cost you, and we might bend a few laws. My bank account groaned, but I nodded. Let's get creative. Next stop, Nora Skyward Supplies, a weird store selling parachutes and theatrical costumes. Nora, the owner, looked like she could pack a chute and roast her karaoke skills with the same icy stare. Hi, I said, faking confidence. I need a parachute static line, beginner-friendly, and a paramedic jumpsuit. Super authentic. She eyed me like I was a math problem with no solution. Scotty VYing lessons first, then we talk gear. You crashing a costume party, or actually a paramedic with a flair for drama? It's complicated, I said, my cool crumbling. It's a community thing. High-stakes access to a restricted zone, fighting red tape and bad VY Bess. She stared, probably calculating how many laws I'd break. Then a smirk. Red tape, huh? Okay, you've got me. Lessons start Wednesday. Jumpsuit reflective trim or too much. The next month was a whirlwind. My SAVY NGS bled out like a pop balloon. I lived on ramen and anxiety. Rusty was a mad genius, turning a beat-up PWC into something straight out of a sci-fi flick, if the hero was an EMT with a side gig. He rigged water jets for vertical takeoff, painted it emergency red and white, and added sirens so loud they could wake a coma patient. He dubbed it the Hydro Saw VY, or I called it the Excuse Eradicator. Nora, meanwhile, was brutal. No, skydiver me landings were less elegant descent and more sack of potatoes hitting pavement. But I was getting there. She tailored a jumpsuit so real I felt like I should carry a stethoscope. I grabbed binoculars, a cheap megaphone, and a first aid kit, mostly for show, but also because my parachute skills screamed injury risk. I scoped out Linda's routine. Beach patrol, 7:50 to 8:10 a.m., like a robot. That was my window. Then a fancy envelope arrived, the kind that screams trouble. It was a cease and desist from the HOA's lawyers, accusing me of harassment and aesthetic distress. I called my sister, Mia, my voice of reason who usually stops me from starring in VY Ralph Fail VY Deos. Ethan, a cease and desist? She said, horrified. What did you do? Nothing crazy, I lied. Just asked some pointed questions, started a petition, maybe explored. Alternative access plans. Silence. Alternative access? She said, too calm. Ethan, she built a fence. You're not a spy. Drop it. It's just a tower. It's not just a tower, Mia, I said, pacing. It's about Linda sucking the joy out of everything with her rules and her beige obsession. You're going to end up in jail or splattered on a billboard, she warned. Promise me you won't do anything dumb. I glanced at my jumpsuit. Dumb? Mia dumps my VYB. Another close call came during a test run at Fisher's Point, a quiet bay where I was tweaking the Hydro Saw VY, or Rusty swore the thrusters were mostly stable. I managed a shaky 4-foot hop before nearly colliding with a seagull. Apparently, Mrs. Carter, a Linda loyalist and bird fanatic, reported dangerous experimental watercraft and a man weaponizing a jet ski. Officers Daniels and Lopez showed up, looking like they'd drawn a short straw. Ethan, Daniels said, eyeing the dripping Hydro Saw VY, or what in the heck is this thing? It's a high-tech aquatic rescue prototype, I said, aiming for smooth. For extreme conditions. Lopez squinted at the extra nozzles. Does it fly, Ethan? Mrs. Carter mentioned flying and scaring her herons. Fly? No way, I said, clutching my heart. It's for SAVYing lives. Red and white for VY-cibility. Daniel sighed, a sound heavy with every absurd call he'd ever taken. If this isn't legal on water or God help Mir, you're in deep. Keep it away from Mrs. Carter's birds. They didn't seize the Hydro Saw VY, but the message was clear. I had to nail this, and fast. The big day operation free, the horizon dawned with a sky painted in soft pinks and oranges that Linda probably deemed unapproved hues. I was in a secluded cove, the Hydro Saw VY, or bobbing in the shallows, its paint job gleaming, sirens ready to wail. I was in my jumpsuit, parachute harness feeling like a medieval torture to VYC, stomach churning with coffee and dread. Rusty was there, practically glowing with pride. Hydro Saw VY, Orse ready, man, he said, smacking my shoulder. Thrusters are good, sirens are hot, and the emergency confetti cannons are locked and loaded. Confetti cannons? I yelped. Rusty, we didn't talk about confetti. He laughed. Chill, bro. It's for flair. Aim for the tower, dodge the pines, and don't land in Linda's SUV. Nora's text was less cheery. Don't break yourself or my gear. Pics or it's fake. Good luck, you lunatic. I strapped on my headset, pretending I was in a blockbuster. Copy that bass, I squeaked. Launching Operation Free the Horizon. My heart was a jackhammer. Linda's patrol was minutes away. The wind was decent, per Rusty's dollar store windsock. It was a quick hop over a rocky bluff, then 300 yards to the tower. 90 seconds, Rusty guessed, was all the Hydro Saw VY, or could handle with the juice needed to lift me and my questionable life choices. I took a breath, gave Rusty a wobbly thumbs up, and floored the throttle. The hydro saw VY or roared, its cobbled together jets snarling like a bear with a toothache. It skimmed the water, then bam lifted. I was airborne, kind of. It wasn't smooth. It was like a drunk albatross taking off. The wind howled, the sirens shrieked loud enough to rattle windows in the next county, and I was bouncing like a ping-pong ball in a blender. Yeehaw! Rusty's shout faded behind me. The bluff blurred below. Then the beach unfolded me beach, fenced off by Linda's petty empire. There she was mid-patrol, hat askew, jock dropped, pointing at me like I was a UFO. Her shock was worth every penny I'd spent. Target locked. I yelled in my headset, mostly to hype myself up. The hydro saw VY or wobbled, but held. Then a rogue gust hit, the kind that mocks weather apps and ruins stunts. I was veering off, losing height fast. Rusty, I'm bailing. I shouted, praying he heard over the chaos. I cut the thrusters. The hydro saw VY or splashed into the surf, safely away from swimmers, just as Rusty had half planned. Now me. I grabbed the parachute's static line, counting like Nora taught me. 1, 2, yank. The chute popped open with a thud like I'd been punched by a cloud. I swung wildly, the world a spinning mess, but I was descending toward the tower. The landing? Let's call it memorable. I aimed for the tower's tiny platform, but clipped the side with a thwack, spun like a top, and crashed in a heap next to it. My first aid kit exploded, Band-Aids, and an ancient aspirin packet scattering like confetti. The megaphone clattered, nearly rolling off. I groaned, every bone complaining, but I was on the tower. Inside the fence, a self-appointed paramedic on a mission. I grabbed the megaphone, stood, and bowed to the stunned crowd below, which erupted into cheers and gasps. Linda was a volcano of rage, her face a shade of red I'd only seen in warning signs. She was screaming, phoned her ear, 911. There's a maniac in a paramedic suit on my tower. He's loitering with intent. The beach, quiet moments ago, was now a circus phones out, cameras flashing, locals grinning like they'd hit the jackpot. I raised the megaphone, adrenaline pumping. Attention, Crescent Cove. My voice boomed, a bit scratchy but commanding. This is an official safety inspection. The tower is secure for your safety and scenic pleasure. Stay clear and enjoy your beach. Linda's shriek pierced the air. Get down, you lunatic. That's HOA property. You're unauthorized. I almost pitted her. Almost. Then the cops showed up, Daniels and Lopez trudging through the sand, faces screaming, why us? They took in the scene. Me on the tower, megaphone in hand. The hydro saw VY or being towed by a gleeful Rusty, who was pitching it as a surprise rescue drill. Linda, practically frothing, and a crowd of 60, filming and laughing. Daniels pinched his nose. Ethan, he said, voice heavy, you parachuted onto the tower in a paramedic suit after flying it on. Whatever that is. Because of fence? I grinned. Just ensuring access to critical infrastructure, officer. CIVYC duty. Arrest him. Linda howled. He flew a jet thing. It was loud and illegal. Lopez whispered to Daniels. Probably something like, what's the charge? Aggravated showboating. After a sigh-filled debate, Rusty, making whooshing noises to explain hydrodynamics. Linda listing my crimes, including unauthorized airspace joy the cops gave up. No real laws were broken, just twisted into knots. I got a vague citation for causing public confusion, and they told Linda, again, to take her fence fight to CIVYL court. As they left, Daniels muttered, next time she calls, Lopez, you're on tower duty. I'm out. The real win? The footage. Multiple angles of my chaotic drop, Linda's meltdown, the works. It went VY-RAL before I'd unhooked my chute, with hashtags like the Hydro Hero and the Linda loses it. Local news ate it up, with Rusty boasting about the Hydro Saw VY, Or's next-level upgrades, and Nora admitting he didn't die, so my training worked. The suit looked sharp. Then came the bombshell. A leaked email, maybe from a fed-up HOA insider, showed Linda wasn't just allergic to fun. The tower slightly blocked the VYEW for a swanky new condo project she was consulting for, pocketing a fat fee to fast-track HOA approvals. Her liability and eyesore claims? A smokescreen for greed. The town lost it. An emergency HOA meeting, not led by Linda, saw residents while VYing email printouts and VY-RAL VY-DEO links. Linda was ousted as president in a vote so lopsided I almost felt bad. Almost. The new president, a laid-back surfer named Kyle, tore down the fence and launched a fundraiser to repaint the tower a VY brand teal. He called it a beacon of community spirit. I might have helped with that phrasing. A week later, I'm back at the beach. The tower stands tall. No tape, no signs, kids laughing at its base. Mia's with me, shaking her head but grinning. "You're nuts, Ethan," she says, completely unhinged. Hey, I say, watching a kid point at the tower in awe. Sometimes you gotta make ways to fix things. Or, drop in when the gate's locked. She rolls her eyes, but there's warmth in it. The Hydro saw VY horse back at Rusty's, getting Phase 2, mods made a snack tray, or a disco ball for seagulls. Nora's pushing advanced parachute lessons for my next dumb idea. Sure, I bent some rules, spooked some birds, and maybe overdid it. But that tower, free and proud against the sky, says it was worth it. Crescent Cove's safe, the tower's safe, and we're free from Linda for now. I'm eyeing that unapproved community mural she griped about last fall. Wonder if Rusty can rig a drone to spray paint with laser precision. Maybe add a tiny, rebellious flag. So what do you think? Was I a hero for SA VYing the tower or a reckless idiot who got lucky? Should HOAs have this much power over public spaces? Or are they just doing their job? And, real talk, would you have jumped out of that jet ski or stayed on the ground? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if you're Team Tower, and subscribe for more wild rides. Let's keep the conversation going.